Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Fintech Fridays. When I first thought about this conversation, Abdel, I'm like, oh, is this really fintech? But then I remembered, oh, I'm talking to Abdel. This dude is all about tech stack, all about process. Abdel Khawatmi got mortgages powered by PRMG. Big fans of PRMG. Love what you're doing, Abdel. Thanks for coming on. And I think you're a repeat guest on my podcast.
Yep. Yes, sir. I appreciate you having us, man. Always a pleasure.
And I've started to weave into these episodes folks like yourself that are in the trenches, right? You and I, before we hit record, were talking about some of the fun stuff that never makes
Yeah.
its way to social media.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm hoping our audience learns from you today is you know, what you're doing to drive success because you're crushing it, but more importantly, how you think about process in tech to minimize chaos in the equation. So let's start with here we are. We're closing out the month in February. When this thing drops, it'll be early March. How's the year been so far from you and your branch?
I mean, January was a little tricky. I mean, we still crushed it, and it's funny. December was the best month in my entire career,
I remember you telling me that.
and then January was okay, right? February, another competing month like December. And then March is also looking super, super busy too. So it's funny. I always share with Ryan Goldsmith, who's our regional, and it's like I hate the roller coaster loan officer, right? That saying but it's funny. It's like 1 month. Well, I'll do again when I say like good, we're still doing 10 closings, right, or 8 closings, and then you'll boom. You'll want to stay at that consistent peak, and the reality of it, like some of the stories I was sharing with you, is dude, there's especially in Jersey. I could comment on local market, right? Man, these houses are just in rough shape. So we're doing these appraisals, and we're lucky because some of them are not getting flagged, right? Or I shouldn't say lucky. Maybe our version of something not being in the best shape may be different than an appraisal because they've got their own guidelines and metrics. But then you get these inspection reports, and it's treading a very fine line between sales and also just integrity at the same
Yes.
time, right? Because you're like, dude, you really got to buy this house because there's no houses out there, and we worked so hard to get the offer accepted, and I already issued a mortgage commitment, and then you're like, before you try to be so pushy, I'm like, send me the report, and then you look at it, and you're like, fuck. Yeah, this is pretty rough. Let's ask for whether it's a concession, which I'm seeing for the last, I would say, year, more concessions being given rather than repairs themselves, right? Or even entertaining a concession, right? Because so at one point it was like take it or leave it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And listen, I have some deals where it is take it or leave it. We just had a deal die in Jersey City, multifamily home, appraised 20K over. We offered 20K over, picture perfect, but the entire house on the outside was just like the paint was chipped and you could see it from like 3 blocks away. So shame on the real estate agents, because it's like, dude, like it's a VA loan. So one, we're hooking up a vet. Dude, I don't care if it was conventional. It would have still got flagged. Like it is, black and white, and the seller refuses to fix it. The house has been on the market for a little bit. This is the third time it was listed, went off, came back, went off, came back. That's not a good look, lady. You're instead of you spending 3, 4, 5 grand to paint it and fix it, you're not going to kill it. After you got 20K over, you may end up getting it scooped by an investor or somebody else who's just not going to want to offer that much more. But other than that, it's definitely been super busy. We're blessed. PRMG is awesome, man. I mean, I think you saw the post the other day. We're at a 19-day clear to close, and I track. You mentioned systems, right? I track every single goddamn metrics there is. I start calling myself sometimes like on ESPN when you see like, and the first person to score a rebound and
Yeah, yeah.
shot, but you start having fun with it. So
Well, first of all, I want to go back to what you commented on in terms of, and we were talking about this before we hit record as well. A lot of times the issues that you might be facing as an originator with your client have nothing to do with the financing aspect of the transaction.
no,
Like everything's dialed in there. And it would be really easy, in my opinion, for an originator to say, not my job,
100%.
not my job. That's somebody else's problem. But what you described to me before we hit record, what you just described with the veteran that you were working with, is how you and your team take it to a different level with client engagement. And I look at it really as a consultation. Like you become part of the home ownership consulting, piece of the transaction, not just the financing to facilitate. And I got to imagine that, first of all, it's very rewarding to know that that's your help. You're helpful and you're assisting in improving someone's financial position and their family's financial position around home ownership. But it also has to turn into benefit for your brand and for you personally, in the form of referrals from those clients that you assist.
Yeah, it's a client for life mentality. I am your lender for life. You're gonna get a cool T-shirt that's gonna be branded and it's gonna have your last name on it, and it's gonna say "Just close with the gorilla," and we're gonna have fun with it. And you're gonna get small little touch points, right? We've been using Box and Bestow, a recent platform that's been like, it's so cool because a client texts you, "Thank you so much for the gift." And you're like, "Shit, what did we send them?"
Yeah, what did I do? It's like me at Christmas.
Totally, I'm the same way. And but yeah, I mean, listen, I put myself truly, and not to sound cliche, but really in the shoes of the consumer, right? Where I know that there's just so many opportunities for losses of communication that occur, and the least thing I can do is just try to make sure, there's such a fine line to remember. My background comes from, I was originally going to law school, then my wife gave birth. My daughter's now 13, taller than 5'7", which is crazy. But, so it kind of comes from that hyper analytical, systemized approach. And I have always been finding opportunities to, like, we had one deal like 6 months ago. Yeah, I would say about 4 months ago, where we didn't realize that the buyer was paying a portion of the agent's commission. Because it was still like grayish, and the contracts now actually have it like in like a table format where it's under. But we didn't realize it. We get to actually literally the closing table, and then the day after they call me and they're like, "Hey, we never got paid the portion." And then I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And it's so funny because it was like in the bottom of additional contract provisions at the time. And I'm like, holy shit. So luckily, I'm like, well, the contract is done now. So you got a CD's done, everything. You guys got to, whatever you take care of outside, it's got nothing to do with us. But I put like 3 checkpoints in place since then, with my opener, with my junior underwriter, and with my processor who pushes it for closing, that we need to check that box every single time, from the opener to make sure the consumer has the cash to close, to the junior underwriter to make sure that we're staying in line if there's concessions being given or anything like that, to obviously the closer. So, and it's funny, the laundry list just keeps getting longer.
Oh yeah.
Questions and checkpoints.
Which is interesting, right? Because here we are, 2025, and you would think that checklist would be getting condensed and reduced, but you talk about a change that hit our industry, hit the real estate industry last year with the NAR settlement and the results of that. And the technology maybe hasn't caught up yet to facilitate that. So kudos to you to address it in your process.
Yeah, and I also want to make sure my realtors don't get screwed, right? Because it's, you run into a situation and then it's like, well, sorry, we already closed type of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have a phenomenal team, man. The least, like I always say, and I've said this before, the least I could do is pick up my phone, make myself accessible. I have utmost confidence in PRMG. You know that's the only company I've ever been with.
Right.
And if there's those files that are, files in the fan, a real estate agent is calling me and saying, "Hey, can you help?" And I call them the Dennis Rodman files, because we're rebounding them and we're cracking them and closing it. And we just constantly try to refine, slowly chip away, and try to find that perfect balance where all parties are in the loop, and it creates so much reciprocated business back too, because listing agents are like, holy crap, we knew every step of the way. I do bomb videos for the final closing disclosures, because it's sometimes tough to go to closing, so I'm recording my screen and sharing. All right, guys, so we're closing tomorrow. This is your loan amount. How did you get there? This is your sale price. And I scroll to the third page. Sale price minus down payment. Scroll back up. This is it. This is your rate. No prepayment. We can refi whenever. This is your principal and interest. If it's a condo, right, plus the HOA, because it's I don't know why. It's really weird. If you ever notice a CD lists, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and then escrow. The escrow is in tax and insurance, but the HOA is not added into that first box, like the difference. So I always explain that to clients because then you get the call later. I thought my mortgage was $4,000, but now it's
Right.
43 because the HOA is calling me. And it happened to me too, believe it or not. So I'm like, am I being too over thorough? A client called and said, hey, the HOA said I didn't pay for 2 months. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want me to get the contact so you could pay? I thought it was included in my mortgage payment. And I'm like, whoa. And it was at like 8 o'clock at night. Can't
Right.
keep this up. So I'm like, hey, I'll check into it. And then they started saying, oh, if I knew that, I wouldn't have bought the house. And then I'm like, all right, well, I told my wife, excuse me, I got to go take care of this, before people go to sleep and ideas start fluctuating. And I pulled the bomb video, the text message, and a screenshot email breaking it all down saying plus the HOA. And actually to the point where, thank God, I had said, as a reminder, your HOA fee, I can assist you if you would like to see if they collect it quarterly and monthly. It's excluded from your monthly payment. So she's like, oh, okay, I must have missed that. I'm like, yeah. So it's definitely comes from that legal CYA cover your ass. But it also creates, again, that added synergy where a buyer's attorney is like, holy crap, this person just did it. We have a deal where some shady practice is happening, right, from a lender. We feel more confident maybe in Abdel stepping in, right? And it's allowed us to be, that person to get those calls.
That's a great tip right there with using BombBomb to deliver that. And you can, there's a bunch of different platforms, but I think what I heard, putting my kind of legal compliance hat on and really like the operational hat is by using a system like BombBomb to deliver the video, you also have record that they received it and watched it
100%.
And how long they watched it.
Yeah. And it's cool too, because you could revert back to it. You could share also with your clients and your partners in the future, like, hey, we do this.
Yeah.
We integrated, again, Robin Clayton, who's a monster. Her and I are always exchanging ideas to the point where our Encompass is built in instead of it being a, shout out to Total Expert and all their cool little widgets and what have you and stick figures. I'm not a stick figure. I'm an in your face, face-to-face person, where we've changed like our videos where now it's also me saying, hey, congratulations, loan just got approved. My team is going to send you over an email with a list of conditions, blah, blah, blah. Hey, appraisal just came in. I'm going to be in touch with you to go over it in detail. And it's just automated, right? And then buyer's agent get it, listing agent get it. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you took the time to do it.
Love that.
And then you're like, oh shit, and I know where my files are at. And that's actually, it's a good thing and a bad thing, because sometimes you want to jump in too much, but then now it's perfecting the art of delegation. We're having an opener, having a loan officer assistant, having a junior underwriter, where I need to know where every file is at, because clients know and partners know I'm going to give you the raw, authentic answer. I am not going to sugarcoat. If something hit the fan, I'm going to probably try and find a solution first, but I'm going to tell you, hey, heads up, there's a little bit of a hurdle. We're working on it, but I already figured it out, right? And I think people start to appreciate that a lot more. And I don't think you and I have ever met in person, which is great, but I'm a big dude.
You look like it.
So it's funny whenever people meet, I'm like, I'm not intimidating. This is just the passion will flow so deep into a conversation where even if I'm talking on the phone, the authentic Jersey Shore, just pours through the phone. I'm like,
right.
Maybe we should jump on Zoom and let me explain to you. So we shifted that, actually. Even talking about, we have like a purposeful 5-step process when I'm pre-approving a client, where it's like the initial touch, hey, how are you, blah, 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 what are you looking for? The second is like a hopes and dreams call, where what do you want? How many bedrooms, bathrooms, locations, demographic, this, that, kids, school systems are important. And then the third one, we'll jump on Zoom and really put it all together and then share, Barry Habib's all awesome stuff and tools and stuff that they've been really, really doing an awesome job with the affordability, cost of waiting, appreciation, amortization. And my team now trying to figure out, again, how to automate, where I've trained my admins to be able to just use off of our mortgage application, just an estimate, and then be able to build out like 4 different metrics and emails to the consumer. And then also, because it's so tough to automate certain things, right? It's physically impossible. If I'm talking to a client who's buying $1 million home, his definition of amortization and appreciation is going to be different than I'm talking to a client who's buying a $150,000, row. So we've tried that, but as we continuously start to innovate and introduce new tech stacks, it's huge. So
Yeah. I mean, in this, 15 minutes, you've rattled off, 4 pieces of technology that are, integral to your process. Anything else that you guys use that you think is differentiating you in the marketplace?
yeah, I mean, listen, I've shared this on numerous podcasts, but I share a client experience in 4 stages, right? This: the initial touch to pre-approval, pre-approval to contract, contract to closing, and post-closing. So post-closing, we really have like list reports, we've got My Home IQ, we've got FinLocker, right? That is really letting them, if they link their home, the equity is tracked. And a lot of that stuff can also be used even before. Like, I use a lot of our path home, with FinLocker for the initial touch, right? Because clients just maybe not ready. Hey, download this. It's 100% free for you. You're going to be able to track your credit, track your equity. It's actually going to let me know as you make progress. So I want to stay on top and congratulate you about that. And at the same time, really make sure that we're ready for that pre-approval stage, right? And it's so powerful to provide to a real estate professional where it's like, hey, how many clients do you turn away because their credit is shot? Well, now this is an added touch point for you, right? But yeah, there's that. I mean, there's been doing a lot of different little coaching stuff with Loan Atlas, with Tim Brahim, and picking up little nuggets here and there. MBS Highway is huge. I have finally started implementing Mortgage Coach, and it sucks because I know for so many years Mortgage Coach and how important it is, right? Until I started doing it over the last 2 months. So shout out to Dave and their team. It's been so powerful because it's like, but I already would tell you this shit. Like, how do you not understand it? Especially to a realtor.
Yes.
But because it's so visually like black and white, like boom, boom. And we've worked also on a lot of integrations too within our individual model. Mortgage Coach has been amazing on, I would say, like the pre-approval to finding a home stage, right? Where hey, I just saw a house, and right, how many times? Because I also like encourage it where it's like, hey, every time you see a house, call me. Let
Yeah.
me run the numbers, as opposed to like, here's a piece of paper, see you later, let me know when you find a home. So it's kind of tedious in nature, but I do enjoy it because then I know 1 number, 2 number, 3 numbers, 4 numbers. You're gonna you're gonna build that loyalty and that trust and that rapport. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't know, dude, taxes are pretty steep on that property.
Yeah.
So
So I
it's a
got a
beautiful home.
little tip for you, and you probably already know this, but in the Path Home app, right? Path Home, which is powered by FinLocker, has the national real estate search. So it's got all the MLS data.
I saw that. I saw that new update that
Yeah,
I think it was Chris put out.
that's right.
Yeah, I was. It's funny. I was actually mentioning that because I have the video that you guys shared that with me. I think it was your son, and I was like, oh, this is awesome because now I'm assuming it links with whatever IDXs and stuff like that
Oh
that
yeah.
built in.
So if I'm your buyer, right, and I'm still on the hunt for that house, right? In Path Home, I can search for properties for sale, obviously, and then favorite those properties.
Similar specifications of homes go to them.
And
Yeah,
then the Path Home app overlays on every favorited property kind of the where it fits in the budget and the estimated payment. But 2 things that I think are super cool, especially for you as a process guy. Number 1 is any action that the consumer takes as it relates to property search gives you an immediate alert as the loan officer. And if you've paired up with a realtor partner in the app, they'll get the same alert.
get a notification.
So so to your point, when you're telling them, hey, call me when you see a new property, if they're in your Path Home app and they're favoriting properties,
You're getting notified.
you can automate that, right? Like clockwork. That's number 1. Number 2, for the user, for the consumer, let's say they favorited 5 or 10 properties that they've kind of got their eyes on. As anything changes on those property listings, like price change, pending sale, closed sale, the consumer will get a real-time alert and they'll know something's changed, log back in, check it out. So it's just, first of all, I love the fact that you are available and they can call you when they are looking at new properties, I don't think you should change any of that. But if they're leveraging Path Home in that same way, it just adds another layer
Value.
of
Yep.
connectivity for you.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love it. Yeah, so that's I mean that's essentially it, right? It's always trying to create that. Listen, we won't even get into social media because
Right.
that'll be hours and hours of conversations. But social is important. We keep it consistent. We're on a pretty solid trend, thank God, with rates over the last couple of days. And I think Friday hopefully will be even better with the PCE report. But I think it's just sharing that with clients. And then what I do too extensively is train our agents. So we're training, agents, 10 different teams, 2 every single day. Monday to Friday. And then it's usually about an hour long, and I'm putting a full-blown PowerPoint presentation breaking down sales, service, support. So 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, and then 15 minutes for questions. And then start implementing Fireflies, the AI. There's so many great ones out there, but
Oh yeah.
Fireflies is one that I just kind of stuck with. It's so cool because the way I set it up too, it's where it's integrated is once I finish the call, you automatically get the recording with the transcription and the video. So the agents, say we have a partnership call, or consumers, especially when we do finish a consult, they're like, "Holy crap, this is so cool!" Because it literally says, "This is what I am saying," and it transcribes the whole thing. Clients are blown away, partners are blown away, and what I'm trying to also do, and I find that fine line, is not lose the personal touch, like you just talked about. And I was slowly falling into that rabbit hole around May, June, because busiest, that's the busy times, right? And we're always busy, but those are usually when it really ramps up, that you rely sometimes too much on it. But again, because I like literally track my minutes and calls weekly, where my team goes in my Verizon, to the point where they log in my Verizon, they're like, all right, you spent this much on the phone on the week, you spent this much minutes. And then I try to also track on my emails how many I sent, and I would notice more text messages were going out, less minutes on the phone. And I said, all right, well, we still closed, but could I have maybe picked up an extra contract or 2 or 3 by maybe taking the initiative to pick up that call, instead of maybe the client didn't get the necessary response that I needed to clarify, right?
Yeah, but how much of it though, Abdel, is like, if I would, to be honest, as a consumer myself, I would prefer to just text you back and forth.
Yeah,
So
agree.
I think what happens is you're never going to not answer someone's call. But if the client is telling you by their actions that they prefer to text, then that's their preferred communication style, and you have the ability with your systems and process and analytics to meet the client where they're at.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because one of the questions is, what's your preferred method of communication?
Yeah.
And then it's usually CTE, right? Call, text, email. And I'm like, listen, you can call me. I'm like, the only time I recommend that you don't call me is like after 8:30. Not because, I'm with my kids or whatever, but I'm probably passed out. I'm up at 4, so I'm usually passed out by 9, unless I have a late night, then I know I'm gonna drink coffee. I'm like, but you can call me anytime. Sunday at 6 p.m. My kids are gonna be screaming in the background, and I tell them, and you need to be okay with that. But as long, I want you to understand that you're buying a home, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. I am going to be the gateway the entire time, from mortgage, real estate, title, ensuring that every professional is performing to the best of their capability, because I'm going to give you 120%. I want to earn your business for life, right? I want you to be able, I want to be the conversation at the Thanksgiving table when you bought that and you're like, dude, my mortgage guy was a gorilla. Right? His team was awesome. Communication was established. Listen, you can have all the 5-star reviews online that we always push for, but leaving that, true heartfelt message back to the client is what I strive to push for every day.
That's a great way to wrap us up, buddy. I love it. I love what you're doing. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise with our audience.
Absolutely.
And definitely appreciate the partnership that we have with PRMG and with Got Mortgages. Abdel, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, man. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Come back in 2 weeks for our next episode of Fintech Fridays.